Nick Stahl from Disturbing Behavior and Bully and a bunch of stuff.
Bully. Get out of here.
Yeah, and he basically saves Nancy's life. Mm-hmm. Or for her from being kind of abused and living a tortured life. He saves her.
With a heart condition.
Yep.
Yeah.
And basically they frame him for molesting Nancy.
They basically say that he's the one who
did it,
raped Nancy, and she says the doctors won't even look at her, even though she's told the police that she's like, you saved me, and no one believes me, and they think I'm crazy.
They pretty much bribed her parents into not taking her to the trial or keeping her away from all that shit. Mm-hmm. So then she decides to write him letters for.
Yeah, because he ends up going to prison for 8 years, and basically gets letters from her, like they said, every Thursday for 8 years.
Cordelia or Cordelia?
Yeah, Cordelia. Yeah, and then they finally stop, and he starts freaking out because he doesn't get a letter from her for 2 months, and then he finally. This yellow bastard appears up in his jail cell.
Looks like a gremlin.
Yeah.
I forgot to say, he basically he disfigures the child molester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. He caps him a bunch of times.
Shoots him in his hand, blows off his hand.
Dick.
Yeah, and then he takes away both of his weapons. Yeah. Which is, I think that's a really clever line. And he basically, Bruce Willis' character gets knocked out by him, and then he wakes up to a bloody envelope with a finger in it, and he thinks it's Nancy's.
While in prison.
Yeah, and he starts freaking out, and he's like, "Oh, I'll do whatever they want. I'll what did you say? I'll admit to whatever they want me to."
So basically, they make him the fall guy for all of that, and he admits to it, and he has to confess in front of these people, saying he's the child molester, he's the one that did all this crazy shit, and they let him go after that, right? They're
like, okay, thanks for committing. Thanks for you were at fault, or you can go. You're free now.
Yeah, so they do let him go, but it was because they were trying to trick him into letting him.
Leading him to Nancy. Yeah, that was the whole thing of it was never Nancy's finger at all. It was just to get him so freaked out that he would go find her to make sure that she was okay.
I wonder if I just thought of this, if the fake finger that wasn't hers, was that like a shout out to the Big Lebowski? You know what I'm saying? When they send him the fake finger toenail or whatever toe. But so he goes to this bar because he goes to her house first, right? And then he finds a matchbook of Katie's.
Yeah, Katie's.
That dive bar he was talking about. He goes there, but then he sees that she's a dancer there.
Yeah, because he asks, what's her name?
Shelly.
Yeah, Shelly. He's like, I'm looking for Nancy. And then she's like, look up to the stage, cowboy. Yeah. And then she's over here with like a rope in her cutoffs.
Yeah.
Hey. Got that poster on my wall right now.
What?
I do. It's not just a poster, it's a printed canvas.
Oh.
Nice.
Fancy.
Because I'm not fucking around.
I thought it was cool that if you noticed in the beginning where Marv's character was like, yeah, I've Googled or I've drooled over her shoulder to shoulder with other dudes while she was getting down, and then it shows him and he's in between two dudes, like just looking up at her and like admiring her and shit.
But at the same time, I feel like they play him when you watch the Hard Goodbye story. He plays as kind of her protector. He's like her bodyguard in there because he's there every day, and he's like, if anybody looks at her wrong or does anything weird, he's like, hey, I'm gonna fuck you up, type of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he said that
if anyone gets out of order or anything,
some frat boy roughed her up one day and he like straightened him out real good.
Yeah,
because there's this scene in the beginning of the movie where he goes to her for comfort at the pad, so you can tell that they have this kind of close relationship. Yeah, him and Nancy, you know. which I thought was cool. But where are we at?
So basically, he sees her, and he's like, "Oh my God, she grew up. She filled out." And then he turns and he sees the yellow bastard sitting there just drinking, waiting to see what's gonna happen. And he's like, "Oh, Nancy, don't notice me. Don't notice me." He's like, "Just walk out, old man." And then he starts walking away, and then he makes eye contact with her.
Yeah, he fucked up.
Yeah. It's like, you dumbass, just keep walking, don't look at her.
I don't blame him, though.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's been in prison for 8 years. Yeah, how could you not look?
Pushing 60 with a bum ticker.
Not anymore, remember, you got it fixed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they fixed his heart. Which I thought was ironic that his dad, the yellow bastard's dad, paid all this money.
Who is Powers Booth?
Powers Booth, yeah, he's a... What is he?
Senator?
He's a senator.
He's a senator. To keep him alive, I would have done him off.
It was because he wanted him to suffer in prison.
Because they had ruined his reputation. So it was almost like the bigger fuck you rather than letting him
The rest of your life is going to be like a miserable torture.
It would have been easier for him just to get killed off than to suffer all these years. That makes sense now.
So it's cool in that aspect that they go out of their way to just keep him there.
Long-term torture.
So then basically he meets up with Nancy, and they get into this kind of car chase with the yellow bastard.
Yeah.
And I think they wound him.
Yeah.
And he ends up in the back in the car, and they don't know it. And
After a crash,
they pull into a hotel for the night, and he's kind of sitting outside waiting to attack. So when Hartigan gets into the shower, after he kind of says, "No, Nancy, like, I'm old enough to be your grandfather. We can't mess around. That's weird for me, right?" And he goes in the shower. And then the yellow bastard has already broken in and kind of attacks Hartigan and takes Nancy hostage again.
Yeah.
He injects her with this thing that I think probably makes her numb, or she can't use her motor functions, Yeah. And he says this super kind of twisted line where he says, "She's a little old for my taste, but I can forget that just as once."
Yeah.
Fucking sicko.
Yeah.
His face, dude, his eyebrows, he's like...
Because you can still see it's Nick Stahl.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat creepy to me.
I pointed out, I'm just going to say, dude, I think he looks like fucking Chuck Liddell.
Oh, yeah, he did. When you said that, I was like, oh my God.
His stance?
Yeah. I hope he doesn't beat me up.
Over the fucking shoulder hook.
Yeah, dude. And plus, he fucking hits that fool because he has a fake hand, right? So he knocks him out in the shower with the fake hand because he blew it off. Probably has like the fucking Luke Skywalker hand and shit.
Robotic.
Yeah. I just don't want Chuck Liddell to hear this podcast and be like, "Fuck you," and then find me because he's like, "I don't look like a yellow bastard."
Fucking motherfucker.
See you at Disneyland again.
The Iceman.
No.
So the yellow bastard hangs Hartigan.
One thing that Hartigan tells Nancy is, "Don't scream. Whatever you do, don't scream."
Yes, that's a key.
He says,
because he gets off. The yellow bastard gets off on pain, and when he hurts people, he has to, I guess,
hear the screams.
To finish. He needs to finish to. How do you say?
Scream.
Hear the screams. Yeah.
Pain.
Yeah.
He needs to hear other people's pain. So he says, "Whatever he does to you, whatever, like, don't scream." And then
She said, "I promise."
And she doesn't.
Yeah.
So they hang Hartigan in the hotel, and then they leave. And he almost gives up, and he says, "You know what? Fuck that. Like, keep your neck tight." He is able to miraculously break the
glass and then catch the glass with his feet.
Yeah, which is a very noir-ish thing that I'll accept.
Just so happens to be
I
there.
would wish that if I was in that situation, I would just fuck that whole thing up and probably die on the rope.
He's like Houdini, dude. He can untie a rope behind
I
his
would
back
probably make myself like a rock and just break the fucking whatever I'm hanging
ceiling,
from.
the pipe or whatever.
Right? But anyway,
have a strong neck, Wes.
He kicks the glass behind him, and he cuts the rope that he's tied. His feet and hands are tied with. He gets free. He takes this super nice Lamborghini from the cleanup guys who were sent to pick up his body.
Idiot thugs.
And he takes all their weapons, and he fucking kills the whole team that were protecting the yellow bastard. They get to this. They have this climax in a fucked up barn where he's whipping Nancy, calling her a big fat cow, which is ironic and fucking weird. And
it's like, you like that, you big fat cow?
It's because he's used to calves, and he's with an older cow. Never mind.
That got twisted.
Yeah, he's twisted, man. I'm just
digging deep.
Yeah, I'm an interpreter.
So, he's whipping her, right? And Hartigan gets there, and they square off.
Yeah.
And he takes away both of his weapons once again,
dude.
And you see, so these surgeons basically replace his reproductive organs, and Hartigan comes in and rips them off again.
Yeah.
And you see it.
You do.
Oh yeah.
The snaps of the skin and stuff.
Yeah.
And he rips it off and just tosses it into the
and then
hay.
he haymakers his face into the wood. Till there it's like mush.
Yeah.
They remind me a lot of Walking Dead style. Just zombies in their faces smashed in.
Irreversible style.
It's oh god.
Can't fix that with the surgeon.
Nope.
So he kills the yellow bastard and saves Nancy, but of course Nancy's like, come away with me. We can leave this place and run off together. And of course he's afraid of Senator Rourke coming after him because he's killed his only son.
Yep.
He's cut his bloodline, so he knows he's coming for blood. And so to protect Nancy, and so his whole plan isn't for nothing. He takes himself out.
Yeah. Sacrifice.
And that's
kills himself.
That's the end of Sin City 1.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But I actually have a Sin City overview from a bunch of cast members, crew members, just talking about their experience with the film. If you guys want to jump into that real quick, and then when we come back, we'll do the Swan Facts and then sign off.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right.
The idea of the Sin City movie being around back in the early 90s, but I never thought, how could they ever adapt it? It would just become a regular movie, wouldn't have the same feel. I started really looking at it as, instead of trying to turn it into a movie, which would be terrible, let's take cinema and try and make it into this book. Because the mediums really are very similar. These are just snapshots of movement.
Of all the principles involved in this, I've been the most startled by how faithful it is to the original.
Sin City is this film noir landscape, and basically one of the things that's great about the way Frank writes, this was Frank's way to create a complete universe, to go as hard and as harsh as he wanted to, all right, and make it be as ghoulishly funny and as, gallows humor, cryptic funny. It's not just these stories, and it's not just these characters, and it's not just this city. There's an entire mythology about this entire piece, and I like the idea of creating your own mythology.
I was a hard sell. I've got a good life drawing the comic books, and there's really no need to let anybody have my baby. And I held to that fine until this Rodriguez guy started bugging my attorney and then my editor and hunting me down like a wild dog. And essentially, I was seduced. Robert showed up at our first meeting. He whipped open his laptop, and he'd already done some test shots of how he wanted to photograph actors and how to stage things that really looked damn good.
I don't want to make Robert Rodriguez's Sin City. I want to make Frank Miller's Sin City because I love that material so much.
I mean, he said, how about I fly you to Texas?